Hello. There is one God and his name transcends barriers of race, caste and creed. He's experienced through the chanting of his name before sunrise and by following the rule of the 5 Ks, which translates as keeping your hair uncut but tidy, wearing special breeches and keeping with you a steel bracelet, a comb and a short sword. Tonight, Sikhism.
My name is Preet and I love Sikhism because it's modern, spiritual and peaceful.
My name is Ranveer Singh and as a Sikh I believed that we are loved and the world is a game of love and our only problem is that we don't realise how much we're all loved.
Hello, my name is CHARANJIT. I'm a probation officer and I'm passionate about Sikhi.
I am Dr. SEWA Singh KALSI. I am a Sikh. I was born in a Sikh family. I teach Sikh studies at the University of Leeds.
Hello, my name is BAHADAR. I feel privileged to have been born in a good Sikh family and I'm trying my best to keep walking on Guru's path and become a good Sikh.
I'm CHARANJIT KAUR. I'm an Amritdhari Sikh and have been for some time, and I came to the UK in mid-60s.
Peter, when I was just rehearsing that introduction, a debate suddenly started about whether I should call God he, or it, or she, or what. Was I right to say he?
Well, I mean, I think that you begin to overemphasise if you start looking at these sort of things. I would have kept the he, because I think too much emphasis on certain, having the right sort of terminology is not what it's about.
So those of you who felt that he was inappropriate, why?
Well, I think it's a question that goes to the heart of the way that Sikhism is explained in the Western world. Because for Sikhs, for instance, they wouldn't use the word Sikhism. Most of them would use the term Gurmat, which is from the scriptures itself. So the whole thing, I think, is about trying to accommodate ourselves, trying to explain ourselves to the Western world in Western terms. So the he has come straight out of the Old Testament and Shakespeare, and you even see that in the translations, he hath, he this and that. So they're showing more their knowledge of, you know, the period in which they were educated than anything about the Sikh scripture, because the actual scripture is gender neutral. There is no he implied throughout the thing. There is an image of the spirit as a bride and God as the groom, but there are numerous other images. One is Namo Lok Mata in our daily prayers. I salute the mother of creation. So a mother obviously cannot be a he.
So this, what you said about explaining yourself to Western culture, is this an issue? Do some Sikhs feel that that's unnecessary?
No, I think the central teaching in Sikhism is the concept of oneness of God and equality of humankind. When we're talking about equality of humankind and oneness of God, then, according to Sikh teaching, God has no form, shape. If it hasn't got any shape and form, then it hasn't got any gender.
You see, I would have felt strange about saying there is one God and its name transcends, but maybe that's because I come from the Jewish culture, which I was going to say was patriarchal, but of course isn't. It's matriarchal, but we still think of God in male terms.
Yes. But the other thing is that the Sikh religion is a feminist faith. I mean, Sikh women are given the surname Kaur, meaning princess. That's the only name they keep in their life. They don't take their father's name or their husband's name, which, as you know, was a mark of slavery, that she belongs to the father, now she belongs to the husband. In her, she belongs to herself. She belongs purely to God. She's sovereign and autonomous as a princess. And then Sikh women also carry the short sword, kirpan. They carry the same 5 Ks as a man. They're equal in every way. There's no religious thing that she cannot do that a man can do. So the message of the Guru, in fact, there are things which are prohibited. One is veiling. Veiling is prohibited. If someone was to kill a daughter, which was a common practice at that time, you must not associate with that person. If someone performs sati, which was a Hindu custom of the wife throwing herself on the pyre of her husband, you must not associate with that person. So the only prohibitions as regards women are very much against the degradation of women. And even things like the menstrual cycle, which the Gurus tackle straight on, he says this thing is the root of ignorance in all faiths. They're saying that a woman is unclean. He says the opposite. This is actually holy because from this comes birth. All things exist through life.
Now, the fact that a debate was raised just about this one issue is a wonderful thing, because so many religions these days are quite fundamentalist. There is no debate. It is written. So is your religion a religion of debate?
I think that debate is the wrong word. Why the contradiction came in was that in Guru Granth Sahib, the holy book of the Sikhs, or the holy scriptures, it specifies Eka Purukh Sabai Nar, that means the whole universe, whole creation is female, he himself is the male. But then again, as Ranveer says, it also says, Tu mera pita, tu hai mera mata, you are my mother and my father, tu mera bandhav, tu mera prata, you are my brother and the relation as well. But the crunch comes when it says you cannot define him, inverted commas. He is Beyant, he is Apar, he is Agam, he is Agochar. You can't reach him, you can't touch him. All these five senses are human limitations, and he is beyond that. I'm again using the word he because of that convenience. But you cannot actually define God. He is beyond all our definitions and vocabularies. That's where the problem came, and it became very lively.
I think it's not a problem. I think we are living in a multi-faith society. And when we have to explain or share our convictions with others who come from other traditions, I hate the word Sikh religion. In English, then I am, as a matter of fact, handicapped, because English language is setting the agenda. The Sikh tradition is primarily explained, written, and sung in Punjabi. That's the Punjabi language. Let me tell you a story. In 1970-71, when I was in Leeds, I organized a Sikh Christmas dinner. And the people just, they were surprised, they were astonished. What does he mean by Sikh Christmas dinner? And a reporter from the Evening Post, he was on the telephone asking me, what do you mean by Sikh Christmas dinner? I said, look, it's all English. Sikh Christmas dinner. He said, are you a Christian? I said, no, I am a Sikh. Do you believe that Jesus Christ was Son of God? I said, of course, but we believe that we are all sons and daughters of the same God. And this is how I shared my experience being a Sikh from that tradition, our understanding of God, which the main emphasis was on the oneness of God and equality of humankind, not the divisions which we have created on this earth.
Now, one of the debates within my people's religion is the debate of assimilation, which is very much what you were talking about then.
Sure.
Now, is assimilation something that causes controversy within yours, which of course it does in mine?
I don't think it's as simple and straightforward as that. I think that there's lots of other issues that cloud the concept of assimilation. I think first and foremost, racism has a lot to do with the way that we've had to, almost like being forced to become assimilated, because we've had to adopt. We needed the jobs, we needed whatever. So I don't think that religion tends to play so much a part. I don't think you being a Sikh and then being assimilated is necessarily just the sort of the blinkered approach. I think there's lots of other issues that cloud it.
I agree that there are lots of other issues, but a Sikh by the very, you've got two turban Sikhs here. They are the ones who would be noticed much more quickly than perhaps others would. So therefore, I'm not suggesting that racism is not there, but the Sikhs being a distinct community are noticed much more quickly. And I was looking at it from that point of view. Racism is an issue for a variety of people who do not come from white backgrounds.
And now's a perfect opportunity. I'm sure people have noticed that you're not a turbaned Sikh. Why?
Well, when I came to England, I was a turbaned Sikh. And I came here in the 60s, and when people came from the Punjab in the early 50s and 60s, most of them, they removed their external symbols. There were some who were very, very devout, who kept their external symbols, but on the whole, overwhelming majority of the Sikhs had removed their external symbols. When I came here, that was in 1965, I came to my friends who were complete Sikhs with their symbols intact in the Punjab, but when I met them here in London, they had become clean-shaved Sikhs, and there was pressure on me that, hello, come on, when are you going to, remove these?
What did you say?
Their concern was that, it's difficult to get jobs, and also it is a double, barrier. You are a colored person and you are wearing a turban, so you are carrying two negatives. But this is how it was rationalized, and after 4 days, I was taken to the hairdresser, and I got my hair removed, and for some time I felt very depressed. I felt as if a limb of my body has been removed.
I come from the same era as Paisab. I came here in 1967, and I'm a civil engineer. It was difficult to find jobs, but I had determined in my own mind that I was going to stay a Sikh. I remember the interview. They said, you are the first Sikh going to be tried with our company. And we are in an unfortunate position that you'll be commanding a lot of people who are not even English.
And can I just add, you weren't only the first Sikh in the company, you were the first Sikh in Blackpool.
Yeah, I was the only Sikh for 10 years. And when I left, there's still only one turban Sikh there. He's a friend of mine. He stays in the same house as I used to. But for 10 years, I was the only Sikh. And I remember, I was doing the road survey, and August time, the wind is blowing. I was very near the front, and one hand on the turban, one with the donkey jacket, and through the eyes looking through the theodolite. And the kids gather around you, and all sorts of remarks. Oh, look at that funny man. Have you got a sore head? And the smile killed everything. I smiled when I spoke English with them. They said, oh, I don't know where the English is coming from. They couldn't see my face. It was all hair. But that created such an impression. Within 2 weeks, I had more teacups offered on the streets. My manager came, he says, Bahadur, you're spending a lot of time in drinking teas. And I said, it's public relations for the company I'm creating. And it worked. Because we were going under people's houses for the tunnel, with the vibration, there was a lot of damage. This face and this sweet talk helped a lot of complaints. We never had many complaints, and they accepted. Similarly, in Newcastle, I remember, as Shivaji is saying, we had a management committee with 23 members, and there were only 4 with turbans.
Yes, sure.
The position came, one of the youngsters was caught by yobos in the high street, and his hair was cut in the high street, and it was reported to the police. The police was involved in the race relation basis, and the chief inspector of the police came, and I was the spokesman for the committee. I was the religious advisor. So I was asked to speak on the importance of the hair. And I said, I can't speak on the importance of the hair unless the president, the vice president, and the secretary goes out of the room, because they have got no hair. I cannot preach that hair is more than my life while those people are sitting there.
As a courtesy.
Courtesy, and also I lose the weight of the argument.
I don't think you do lose the weight of the argument, because is a good Sikh about having a turban, or is it about what you bring from within you because, okay, fine, with all due respect, you may wear a turban and you may practice, but that doesn't make you any less or any better than Shivaji at all.
No, I'm not saying
I think
that.
there's too much emphasis being placed on the representation or the way that you present yourself as a Sikh. It's not about how you appear, it's what you believe in, it's how you can portray those messages. Just because you're clean shaven or you don't wear a bug, that doesn't mean to say that people aren't going to listen to you.
Can I just what I find really beautiful about Sikhism, and that's through reading the scriptures, is that you question. I mean, I question about cutting my hair, and I'll argue with my father, like, well, why can't I cut my hair? It doesn't mean to say that I don't believe in Sikhism, that I'm not a good Sikh.
You talk about the uncut hair. Jesus had uncut hair. Samson had uncut hair. Prophet Muhammad had uncut hair. The whole, even Buddha was shown with a top knot. So this is, if you like, it is a universal symbol of just accepting, as people saying, God's gift to you. The naturalness. God has designed, if you believe God is the source of beauty, God has designed us to look beautiful. So if we start mucking about with ourselves and we think this is an improvement, in some senses that's an insult towards God. Because, you wouldn't chop off your fingers and say, hey, look, this is a new design. You think, no, this is ludicrous. God has designed a man, to have a beard, and a woman to have hair and whatever. This is part of God's design. So accept that. Accept your naturalness, because Sikh faith accepts nature as an embodiment of God's love. So nature, the world itself, is very precious to us. It's very holy to us. We don't believe in escaping, running away from the world, but living in the midst of the world. In fact, the Guru says the world is a gurdwara, is a dharamsal. This earth is something holy. This is a place for God's worship. God's true home is in the heart, and in the heart of the world, you're going to live that religious life, the spiritual life.
I think it's important. I'd like to know what exactly is the symbol of the turban of the 5Ks. How did this become a part of the?
I think it's very simple, really. People saying Sikhism is essentially a spiritual thing, that God dwells within you as a fragrance within a flower, as reflection within a mirror, as fire within wood. The whole journey for all human beings, is how to realise this, how to rediscover that essence, how to accept that love which is reaching out to you, that grace which is reaching out to you. Because we believe in universal grace, that God loves everyone and draws all things towards itself. So, simply it says that there are 5 things in your life which blind you, which you inflict upon yourself, blind you from that vision of love all around. Anger, pride, lust, greed and attachment. Attachment meaning attachment to possessions, attachment to desires, to family. And these 5Ks are just an outward manifestation of your liberation from these things. So they're really very simple, like having a sword, having a short sword, which Bahadur Singh, which you'll be carrying, I'll be carrying. It's part
carrying
of
it right now?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Where exactly? Yeah. And are there problems at airports?
No, there's no problem.
Yeah, not at all.
So, but it's part of a martial arts discipline, Gadka. And so, because you're studying a martial art and you're asked to do that, male or female, it gives you a certain discipline. If someone was to come on the street and say, you packy, you this, he's not going to respond, I'm not going to respond. I mean, if we had to, we could, it's meaningless. It's a meaningless thing.
But are you allowed, so I apologise in advance for if this is a dumb question, are you actually allowed in that instance to get out your sword and say...
Oh, well, actually, no one would, to be honest with you. A Sikh probably would not. An Amritdhari Sikh would not answer provocation, because the whole discipline of working early in the morning, praying daily, the whole spiritual discipline would make you feel that this is a joke.
Right. Because you wouldn't need to actually use the sword, but the glint of the sword would more often than not be enough.
There's never been an issue with the Qur'an in this country.
If you place such an emphasis on nature, those of you who live in cities, is that tricky?
It's very tricky.
I was going to say that I find city life difficult, and the reason being because I think as there's change and as Western society develops, I find it very ugly having to go towards the city and not seeing any aspects of nature and actually being allowed to feel yourself and being allowed to take a journey within yourself, because when you go to the countryside or you travel to the east, it's very beautiful, it's very simple, and you're allowed to journey within yourself, and you're allowed to appreciate the beauty that God has given you. And so I think for that reason, I don't like city life.
So it's
Yeah.
hard to be spiritual when you're on the tube. I think that's something that's not just
I think, you know,
the Sikh tradition.
being spiritual for me is being amongst human beings, whether they are on the tube, on the bus, in the classroom, or at the Gurdwara, wherever they are. All human beings, when they are around me, I feel happy. When they are not around me, I feel very much threatened.
That's because God resides within us all
Sure.
in Sikhism.
Sure.
So to reflect on the goodness.
But what I was going to say, Preet, was that I don't struggle with city life
Yes.
and being spiritual.
Right. I don't find it a struggle. I don't like the fact that we're going towards a destruction. I think, you know, in today's world, we're moving towards development, I think, in the wrong way. I think simple life is the best way, you know. If we live around such great beauty, I think it would help a lot of people on a calming level, you know. The city, you've got so much noise and pollution, and it aggravates you. And you cannot help but be affected by the environment sometimes.
But, you know,
But it doesn't affect my spiritual journey,
I
no.
was going to say that for me, it's about taking everything in its stride, so to speak. Yes, I know there is lots of pollution, there's a lot of noise, but then I know where I can go for my time out. And
Of course,
and it is in the
Guru
city.
Nanak
Yeah, yes.
states that, you know, to
You
be
know.
a Sikh, to be a true Sikh, you need to be a sannyasi and a
That's
householder.
right.
At the same time, you have to be realistic as a Sikh, and that's why you
That's
can be
right.
Sikh anywhere in the world. You know.
yes, I'm not a grumbling Sikh. You know, the point is, you know, I'm a Sikh who would take the challenge of changing the world. That's my agenda. That's what I'm doing in Leeds. I'm involved in all organizations in order to create dharmsal. That is what Guru Nanak says. This earth is a place where we are supposed to be engaged in righteous deeds. I'm not waiting for others to do things for me. I'm here to take part and take a leading part in changing the society, in political organizations, in social organizations.
You were talking about progress and change and about development. I was wondering about, in terms of, for the young youth, how would you promote spirituality?
I think they're a personal question.
There's a personal, but they've
And
been
it's when you
decided
get to
for the
joy-
community.
It's when you get to that journey, it's when you
Yeah.
get to that point.
Yeah,
So when do you get to the journey?
They-
I mean,
That's for you to decide.
When you
Just
talk about
talking
taking a journey, then when you're talking about taking a literal journey back.
Talking about becoming an Amritdhari Sikh.
but being a
taking
Sikh is
that.
not a personal choice. You're born into a Sikh
Sure,
family.
but taking that
necessarily, there are
journey, it's when you're ready
I
to
believe
go
that.
down that road.
May I interpose here? I mean, these young people, as you term, these young people have put their view. First, to start with, Sikh is a learner. That's the literal meaning of a Sikh, is a pupil, a learner. So it's a learning process throughout the life. No matter how high you get in spiritual status, you're still a Sikh.
Sure.
Guru Arjan Dev Ji, when he was a guru, even he said, I'm half a Sikh, I'm trying to be a Sikh.
Yeah, sure.
So that's the status.
We spoke about integration quite often. And of course, it's sometimes been a rocky road, including, of course, the partition of India, which you lived through, didn't you? I mean, do you want to tell me about what that was like to see that in reality?
Pretty horrendous, and particularly if you are a very small child when it happens, and you have to move from where you know your home is to an unknown situation. It's quite frightening.
So what do you remember? You remember living very peacefully one day, and
Remember living very peacefully. My father was a civil servant in Lahore, which was the capital of Punjab, the undivided Punjab at that time. And before partition, there was a lot of rioting every night. There were fires and there were killings and other things. So he thought it might be a good idea to send the family back home to the home village where it would be quieter and peaceful. And we were sent over, my mother and 3 of us sisters. As the information about partition became clearer, I think the people who were ruling in a variety of situations began getting their things ready and arrangements ready. What I remember is that at 6 o'clock on a morning, and I don't even remember the day, there was this big beating of drum, and with that beating of drum was a proclamation made, which was if the Sikhs and the Hindus do not clear out within 2 hours, there would be butchery. Everybody would be killed. So my mother, along with the 3 of us, and other people in the village who were Hindus and Sikhs, began walking in India's direction, because that was the only thing they could do. And the situation at that time was quite miserable. It was unsafe. And it was wet. It's monsoon season, so it was quite bad. And we had to walk. And of course, the rivers were in flood. The canals were in flood. Crossing over for a small, 2-foot child is not quite easy, and the mother can't carry 3. Others can't carry. It was quite hard, and I was drowned. Thank goodness I was revived a number of times before we managed to get back to the Indian side, get to the Indian side.
You actually drowned?
So it was, yes, it was extraordinarily traumatic. Very hungry, very thirsty, very wet. That is the sort of feeling I still live with day to day. And I have also seen with my own eyes as a little girl, girls being killed by their own fathers, and I couldn't quite understand why. Because they were older. The whole issue of, saving of the family honor, family respect was very much with them. And it was very late in my life that I understood what was all that was going around me.
So why exactly were the girls killed by their own fathers?
Because of the people who were following us in order for us to be killed.
So it was...
So it was one of those things.
A lesser of...
And it happened. I mean, there were massacres by one religious group on the other. But there were also killings within the community in order to save their honor. And those two things were very, very hard to accept and to live with.
It must be hard to remain not angry under these circumstances.
I mean, one can get angry, but one can also perhaps use one's anger in a productive way. We used to live in Kingston, Surrey, for quite some time, and the headquarters of the National Front were next door in Teddington. They used to come to Kingston Town Centre quite regularly, and anybody who looked different to white was attacked.
Literally
was
attacked.
Abused, literally attacked, was abused. And it was quite a frightening experience. So quite a number of people from within various faiths, including us Sikhs, got together and formed what we call earlier on a Kingston Group for Racial Understanding. We were also very fortunate in having a Jewish representative who was also a columnist in the local paper. So we were able to convey
I see. That's true.
messages.
We've always been in control of the media. It's one of the things we're criticised for mostly.
Messages about what the different faith communities together can do. And I think within 3 or 4 years, it was quite interesting that the whole environment changed as a result, and National Front had to move their headquarters. So we feel quite happy about that.
I'm interested to know just what the average day in the life of a Sikh is. You get up very, very early, don't you? What time? What time did you get up this morning?
5:30.
I got up at about 5:30. I usually get up at about 6 o'clock.
Because you have to chant God's name before sunrise. Isn't it light at 5:30 on a in a summer's day?
No,
Ideally, it's 2
Ideally,
o'clock
it
in
is
the
2,
morning.
Uh-huh.
The ideal.
well, there's no ritual.
That's crazy.
No, there's no ritual about it. This is the
not.
holy time. I mean, the Guru's made very clear every time is holy when you remember God. And every time is...
It is holy time. Amrit Vela, early in the morning. morning is the best time
This
to
is
concentrate.
just before the sunrise.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, 3 hours before
3 hours
sunrise.
before the
Yeah,
sunrise.
It's the best time.
I've got to say, as a writer, that's the best time to write. Maybe.
Yes, I would agree.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the best time for me to concentrate on what
God
I think
is
it's
such
very
a wonderful
peaceful.
machine.
Yeah.
You can just program it. For
But-
example, in the Gurdwara I go to, the morning service always starts at 2 a.m. every day of the year.
So
There's no-
you do go at 2 a.m.
I get up at 4:30 because I have got to work as well for 8 hours. So I get up at 4:30, then I do my personal prayer at home. I join in about 5:45, and I take the last half an hour of the service in the morning, every morning. Similarly, when I go from here, I'll take the last hour tonight as well. So we got 4.5 hours in the morning, 4.5 hours in the evening, 9 hours every day. But I take part only in the last hour in the morning, the last hour and a half in the evening. But people ask me, do you function well on your job? I mean, you can ask my bosses, they're quite happy with it. The body is a beautiful machine. You can program it, and it's just timing. Now, I've been getting up at 4:30 for many, many years, so it doesn't really matter. And the body does get used to it. Don't have the afternoon nap. When I was working in Iraq, for example, it was a norm. That lunchtime, 12 o'clock, go to bed for 2 hours, because nobody worked in that time. And then you get up and work till 7 o'clock at night.
And it's interesting, in India, when I went to visit, in the village, every village has a temple, and they have the speakers, loudspeakers, where they have the prayers on. And whether you like it or not, you know, it's very loud. I mean, and they come on 3, 4 in the morning for an hour.
When I was in Jalan, I hated this. You know the way Guru Nanak told. You are disturbing everybody, and you are making a mockery of those prayers, because lots of people are doing other things at that time, so they are not engaged as they should be. I was in Jalandhar 6 months ago. There was a Gurdwara on one side, there was a Hindu mandir on the other side. At 4 o'clock, they were bombarding us. You know, I couldn't get sleep.
But
I think it's a very...
perhaps you want to understand the political context. Now that 180,000 Sikhs have been killed there in the last decade and a half, so it's a question of some sort of esteem that our voice has not been silenced. Perhaps that's why they're doing
It's
it.
your interpretation. I would disagree with it, because, you know, you don't have to, you know, put these things through the throats of people. When Sikhs are upset about that, you know, behavior or attitude, what I enjoy most in Leeds is early in the morning, at about 3:30 from one Gurdwara, there's a relay of Gurbani. That program is on. I get up at about 5:30, and I enjoy that program. And I do all other things, my yoga, exercises, prepare my breakfast and all that. That's how it should be, rather than, you know, making all that noise. Because people grumble. People...
I
don't
disagree.
agree with that. I think that's how it is for you, and that's how you would like it. But I don't think you can prescribe that for everybody.
No, I'm
because
not prescribing, but I have lived, you know, among Sikhs in the Punjab.
Right, but what I'm saying is that I don't think it's fair for you to say that that's how it should be. I think for you to appreciate it, that's fine. I would love to have, you know, a call in the morning, because, yes, I get up in the morning and I do my part at home, you know, and then I go off and I you know, do my exercise and whatever, and like you, it doesn't actually, it makes my life more enriched, getting up so early in the morning, because I just feel that the day ahead just goes so beautifully.
I want to change the subject and bring up a subject which quite a lot of people in this country I think probably find it difficult to understand, and that's the whole notion of arranged marriages. Now, you were in an arranged marriage, and which didn't work out. Do you want to talk us through it?
I got married, and I don't think I was necessarily ready for marriage at the time, and things just didn't work, and we decided to go our separate ways.
And do you think that was because it was an arranged marriage?
No, I don't think it was. I think at the time I probably felt that my parents knew that I wasn't ready for marriage, and they, you know, sort of prepared me, and I've got married, and it's all their fault that it hasn't worked out. But on reflection, I think it was a lot to do with us coming from different backgrounds, us wanting different things in life, at different stages in life. We both agreed that we couldn't live together for the rest of our lives, and that the best way was to go our separate ways, because we were just making each other very, very miserable, very unhappy. We weren't allowing ourselves to develop in the ways that we wanted to.
How many years ago was it?
10.
How do you feel about it now? It's all
How
in
do
the
I feel
past,
about it
water
now?
under the bridge.
I don't actually have a problem. I think the people that have a problem are my parents, because it's almost like you know, you've brought a disgrace to the family. I don't think they actually see it in that way. I think they just see it in we hoped that, you know, you could have a successful marriage, and, you know, we'd wanted to see you living as part of you know, the next stage of your life, because you've been a daughter, and we wanted to see you as a wife, and then as a mother, and that you haven't been allowed to do that. I think the community probably has more problems with it than I don't actually have a problem with it. No, I wouldn't.
No.
Okay.
Why? Was that a why?
Well, you'd never...
Just say no.
Well, why? I'll ask the question why.
Because I actually believe that you only marry once in your life. That is a belief that was inbuilt in me, and I actually accept that is right. To me, I took my vows in front of the Guru Granth Sahib, and those would stay with me until the day I die. I think for me to go back in front of the Granth Sahib and take vows again would be a mockery of my belief.
My sister, who is 7 years younger to me, she's 54 now. She got married 30 years ago, and within 9 months she was widowed. And she was only in early 20s. But all our efforts failed. She said exactly what said the same. I took my vows once, and if he wanted me to be, you know, he wouldn't have killed him. You know, that sort of thing. So she never got married again.
But I think arranged marriage is quite conflicting for young Sikh males and females growing up, because on one hand your parents are, you know, allowing you to go out, go to university, get an education, integrate into a Western system, and then they're asking you to come back and compromise all of that, all your learning experience, to get married to somebody that they've chosen. And at the age of 25, having gone through university, I've just returned home. And I've made a conscious decision that I'm going to have an arranged marriage.
You are?
Yes.
When?
Well, as and when they find me somebody. But the reason being is...
So it's not arranged yet, are they?
No, they're...
So how does it work? So you go home, because I know nothing about this. So you go home and you say to your parents, I'm going to have an arranged marriage.
Right.
And then they just go out and look for someone.
Well, no, it's not. What they've done to me is, my parents are very open-minded. I mean, my dad's Orthodox Sikh, but he is also very open-minded. What he'll do is either get me to informally meet somebody, so I can go and have a chat and basically speak to the guy, or at somebody's house would meet for an hour and talk.
So how would they find that person for you to meet? Would they,
right, somebody would
do they
tell...
ask around?
Yes, and other people will inform them that there's somebody of a similar age who's professional. You know, you have to look at family, his background. You look at various things, and if they think that it's a good match, they would then arrange a meeting. There's not that sort of pressure these days for you to be forced into a marriage. I think that notion has been, you know, long gone. I think a lot of Asian girls tend to portray arranged marriages in a very negative manner, and I don't think they are.
When I got married, there wasn't the concept of meeting the person and speaking to them, and
that's right.
Sort of seeing whether you have similar views and whether you want similar things in life. And I think that there was an expectation that once you'd gone into the agreement, and once you'd you know, taken your vows, not only in front of the Gurbani, but in front of all the people that were invited, that you would try your level best to make that marriage work at whatever cost. But I think the struggle at that time was about, yes, I want to make this marriage work, but I'm also living in a society that I want to explore, and I actually haven't had a chance to speak to this person. My parents think it's the right match for me. I'm not going to say it's not the right match for me because they know best for me. They're not going to find a wrong match for me. So, you know, for some women, they would try. For me, maybe I didn't have the patience. I didn't want it to go ahead and...
Just to clarify, what Preet is saying is the process is, you know, I mean, her father would not go out and ask, can you think of someone? In the Gurdwara, everybody knows everybody else. They know that he has got a daughter of marriageable age, and he also knows somebody else who's got a son of, you know, that sort of background. They match up in their own mind, and they talk to the father first, and that's how it goes.
So what are they looking for? What are your parents looking for in a
I've asked for somebody who's tall, naturally, because I'm tall. But no, somebody who's, I'd like somebody who's educated, professional, intelligent, of a good family background. And so they sort of look at, they know the people in the community, and they know which families do have a good sort of reputation. And so that's what I'm looking for.
And do they have to be does he have to be of the same caste?
He has to be of the same caste and the same religion, although, I mean, Sikhism doesn't look at caste, but if we look at reality and culture and the whole society, caste is very much an issue. It is still today, sadly so.
Can you explain caste? Because again, that's something which one thinks of as something from the past.
It's a very complex institution. You're born into a caste, you know.
That's right.
I am a son of a carpenter, and my ancestors were carpenters up to the infinity.
It's like the working class system.
Yeah, and the traditional system of arranged marriages has been very, very instrumental in keeping the caste boundaries intact. And although the Sikh teachings are very clear on that, we must not do it.
That's
but
right.
Sikhs are human beings as well. They do lots of things which, you know, are not quite according to the Sikh teachings. But I think the traditional system of arranged marriage is changing, and changing very much. For example, when Preet says that her parents are going to consult her.
That's right.
Once they have found a person, then she will be consulted. They will be allowed to meet, talk to each other, find out whether they are right or not. This is not a traditional arranged marriage. We call it assisted marriage, where parents and friends assist the youngsters, because they realize now all these youngsters who've been to the university education, they are professionals. They're not going to accept the traditional mode of choosing partners. And at the same time, I think Sikh community is going through a very critical period where they are finding it very hard to select suitable spouses for their youngsters.
But Gurdwaras are actually running lists now, and those lists are shared between Gurdwaras.
Is there a description of what...
Yes, yes.
Who gets to write the description?
Not much. There's not much of a description.
Well,
They
that's
say
a detailed
age,
description.
height,
Basic.
professional,
Attractive,
education.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not
Let me
as much fun
tell
as
a
it
new
could be.
angle. I mean, I got two sons who were married, and both my daughter-in-laws are not from the same caste as I am, and they're not from the same caste each other as well.
Right.
And the arranged word was that they both met in Gurmat camps. You know, they met each other, saw each other. They were doing the kirtan together, and they came to the son came to me, Dad. You remember when he named the girl and says, "Would you go and arrange my marriage if you like the family? I've seen the girl, I like her. All right, you go and arrange, do your bit." So me and my wife go, and we see the family from our perspective. That are the, you know, the way we want them to be, or whatever. Are we compatible as families as well? Similarly, the younger one, he just phoned me. He says, "Dad, remember Tripat? You know?" And I said, "Oh, I've seen her there. How about it?" I said, "Well, I can't go to her father and say, 'Can I have your daughter?' Whatever." And he says, "Don't worry. her father is going to ring you tonight. So they already done that. And, but as it happens, I went and saw the family, absolutely gorgeous family. I have no regrets at all. Very proud and very pleased about all this stuff. So it is arranged that way as well.
It's beginning to sound a little bit like...
Jewish.
Yeah, well, like anything, you know, just think if everyone gets on. You know.
Mine, I'll just marry who I choose, really. My father married a Muslim, so that's out of caste, out of faith, out of... You know, it's the end. You know, our family's always been, for generations, they married Scottish women, anything.
I've got to say, the caste thing sounds a bit, for liberal like myself, it sounds a little bit of a stumbling block. You're a religion which is based, you know, so much on equality.
Yeah.
So
And I think it's difficult.
There are barriers being removed, but they are very slowly being removed.
But if you
I
like,
think the younger folk are very strong in their convictions that they do not want to be part of that rigid caste structure. And to a very large extent, they are in a position to influence their older folk. Let's not deny them that credit. And that's happening a little bit more.
I'm right saying all of you fundamentally disagree with the caste system?
Yes.
So
I mean, that is something which
it's just an die out with the
Sikhism
older
tried to
generation.
come out of 500 years ago, and we are still struggling with it. I personally feel that we are not honouring the principles of the faith.
That's right.
By actually sticking to some of those things. And those principles of the faith are in relation to race, in relation to gender, in relation to caste. And they are in terms of making a fairer, just society. And we are struggling to actually bring about that fairer, just society.
So
which
why
the
is it
Gurus
still...
had a wonderful vision about.
Why is it still here then?
Yeah, because
I think it's because
we just
of the
come from
older-
Punjab, yeah.
But it's also
come from
about
there.
the older generation wanting to, coming into this country and being faced with racism, they wanted to keep something precious and keeping their values, their beliefs, their culture intact was precious to them. I think things are changing slowly, but it will take time, as
I
it
don't
takes
know,
with
I think it's
anything.
quite politically related as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think Indian government has a lot of influence, especially in this country, in terms of creating divide between the Sikh community.
We grew up in a situation where that was the norm, and people have kept that on board, which is very natural. Like the English overseas having tea in the middle of, in the middle of Kenya, they're having their afternoon tea. It's a joke, but it's because it's something it's something that reminds them of home.
That's a challenge to the second generation and
That's
third
right.
generation. And we just cannot blame the Indian government for the castes which...
I don't think anyone's doing that.
No, I would
just say it's one factor.
No, I'm not, I'm arguing that caste has been with the Sikhs for a long, long time.
Yes.
And when the Sikhs came over here, for example, Patara Sikhs were the first who came here, and they established their own Gurdwara. It was a Patara Gurdwara.
Oh, yes.
Right? And then Ramgadiyas came, the others came, they established their Gurdwaras on caste basis. But Indian government didn't interfere.
I'm sorry, I don't think that's
the
true.
point is, what
to be honest
we are
with you, I think historically what you're saying is not true. Batra and the Gurdwara are somewhat different in that Batra was a community controlling that thing. The Ramgadiya Gurdwara movement is dating only from the 60s or so. Before that, there's no Ramgadiya Gurdwara.
No.
So actually, historically, what you're saying is not really accurate.
No. Batara's first...
Batras were here earlier.
First Batra Gurdwara was set up in 1956, whereas first Ramgadiya Gurdwara was set up in 1958.
Exactly.
So, it's not very far. The point is, I think, is the issue of caste. The Sikhs must confront this issue as a serious issue which has got nothing to do with Sikh teachings. That is the concern. The point is whether it comes through arranged marriages, it comes through Sikh Ramgadiya Gurdwaras, caste-based Gurdwaras. When you go to that Gurdwara, you meet people who are from your caste. Automatically, you are influenced by all those, sentiments, and then all the relatives, all the friends are from the same.
But again,
group.
if you look even
It should
traditionally at the Misl,
be challenged seriously.
No, of course,
and it should be
100%
fought
agree with
seriously.
you.
That's the issue. If you ignore it, if you say we haven't got the caste, people know that it's there.
Definitely.
Out of all the religions, the belief systems that we've looked at in this series. You're the one who have argued between yourselves. There's been a lot less agreement in this one than in a lot of the others. And I want to finish by asking this one question: Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing.
It's a very good thing.
It's a very good thing.
Constructive.
And we are open and discursive people.
That's right.
I think it shows that we all have passions for Sikhism,
Yes.
but in different ways.
That's right.
You know.
And we're at different stages
That's
of the
right.
journey,
Yes.
which again goes back to the point of, you know, what is life for a Sikh?
Yes.
After this debate, we are still friends.
But can I say just one small thing, and that is the 10th Guru in his writing, Jap Sahib, actually, when he was addressing God, he also says God, the God of no religion. So we are accepting people of other faith, but we are also accepting people who have no faith at all. And when you have that sort of wide vision, you would have debate, and you would have discourse, and you would have different points of view.
Yes.
Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you.